This week, we're sculpting a poor, round-headed young man who got stiffed this Halloween and ended up with a bag of rocks.
Why are people so mean?
It's the way of the world.
Yeah.
We're also going to mold and cast this figure, and by the end of the video, we'll have a few different variations of this poor, candyless child. We start with a potato,
Right.
sculpted from Polymer Clay. And we're making a kid who, I don't know if this was local.
Yeah.
It was in the news. It was on TV anyway. He wanted to dress like a ghost for Halloween.
But he had some trouble with the scissors.
Yeah, and his costume didn't turn out great. You know, we've all been there.
Right.
It's no reason to punish the kid.
Yeah.
Give him rocks instead of candy.
And who are these people who have a bucket of rocks in their foyer?
Exactly.
Who does that?
It's a Halloween travesty. Anyway, fans of this channel know that we make a lot of spooky stuff.
Yeah, monsters, villains.
Right, but we like to highlight Halloween-specific projects during the month of October.
It's the reason for the season.
Yeah, but sometimes...
Oftentimes.
we have so many projects to complete, and sometimes they take longer than we'd like.
Yes.
Because we experiment, we try stuff, and sometimes we don't get all the Halloween projects done before the month is over.
Oh, no.
And we have to upload the videos in November.
Are you actually doing this?
And we like to call those projects
Oh, my God.
Halloween leftovers.
Every year.
Halloween leftovers, left over from Halloween.
I'm starting to think you drag your butt on purpose, so we have to play that song at least once a year.
Fans of the channel are also aware that Michelle is possibly not a fan of my Halloween power ballad tomfoolery.
Yes.
Okay, so we've sculpted the ghost. We've sculpted his bag of rocks.
Yeah.
And I sculpted them separately and made a little peg and hole system to attach them to each other.
I'm still impressed you got them to fit together so nicely.
Right.
They just snap together.
Yeah, honestly, it's a Halloween miracle. I got lucky.
Yeah.
But there was a reason we made it like that in two separate snap-together parts.
Because we wanted to try to make a mold of the parts.
Yeah.
Cast them.
Yeah.
And try a different couple of treatments of the figure. Some variations.
Yeah, and we will show all the variations at the end of the video. We did a few, but we'll dial down on one of them and go through our process.
Yeah.
And this process, by the way, it yields decent results.
Oh, yeah.
It's a heck of a lot quicker than sculpting two more ghosts and bags.
Oh, it is.
But it can get tricky. There are a lot of pitfalls to account for.
But it's fun.
Yeah. So here you can see the original sculpt of the figure next to the casting we did. The original is oven burned. It's two different clay colors. The casting is a solid white resin. It's a decent starting point.
So then, after a coat of primer, we pulled out the airbrush to give this little guy some color.
And keep in mind, white is a color.
Yeah.
It's a very simple paint job. Some parts of it, though, I wanted to use a detail brush, like coloring all these little rocks in the bag.
This looks like fun.
Well, I wanted to give the rocks variety. I believe the parents of the neighborhood probably went out and collected a variety of rocks.
Right.
Some kids may be allergic to igneous, maybe they get some sedimentary or maybe a quartz or a feldspar instead. And of course, there was the painstaking process of making sure all the little holes in the sheet were painted.
Oh, yeah. And while you were painting the ghost, I got started on the base. This base is meant to tell the story of this poor kid walking from house to house, lugging his bag of rocks, following the sidewalks and walkways of the neighborhood.
Yeah, and this is just one of the bases we decided to make. We're going to show some of the variations we came up with at the end of the video. But let me just take this time to thank our Patreon supporters and mention that some of the tiers in our Patreon are actually getting a longer alternate version of this video where we drone on and on and on about the tools and materials and the processes we use to make all the different bases we designed. So if you like having that kind of behind the scenes, in the studio information dumped on you like a big bag of rocks, we always leave the link to our Patreon down in the info.
You make it sound so appealing.
I speak the truth.
So we had to make a sidewalk, which meant cutting and texturing some foam, which we did with a ball of aluminum foil. And we thought it would be nice to cut it to look like two slabs of sidewalk coming together. To paint it, we've used texture paint in the past, sometimes sand in the paint, but this time, because we already used the foil to add texture, We just decided to sponge on some different grades to see how it would look.
I think it turned out great.
Thanks.
I think you did a nice job. And then we added some tufts of grass sticking up from the crack in the sidewalk to add character.
But the real finishing touch is the autumn leaves. Part of Halloween is hearing the crunch of leaves under your feet as you make your way through the neighborhood.
Plus, how else are you going to hear the monsters sneaking up behind you?
Right.
We put the leaves down one at a time, deciding specifically where we wanted each individual leaf, because, as you know, we have got nothing to do and all day to do it.
Oh God, this took a long time.
It did.
But it was worth it.
Yeah, the leaves add that great autumnal feel. So here is the original diorama. A young boy, let's call him Charles Brown, trudges around the block on Halloween night, receiving little more than insults in response to his avant-garde costume. Then, cutting across some fields and backyards, to escape his tormentors, he kicks through fallen autumn leaves, seeking out houses with kinder occupants, and is offered only more rocks. This kid has the worst luck.
Or the worst neighbors.
Right?
Because it happened again at yet another house with the rocks.
Again with the rocks.
Again. And that looks like a nice house, too.
It does. It does. Well, they really screwed up this time because now the kid has transcended the mortal plane and he's become the vengeful spirit of a neglected trick-or-treater. He's planning on haunting these people every year on this night.
Good.
And not even the Great Pumpkin can save him.
He looks like he's radioactive.
That's actually 3 layers of glow-in-the-dark paint.
Wow.
I'm not even entirely sure it's safe to be around him. I'm wearing lead pants.
I had a lot of fun with this.
Yeah.
I want to make more.
Yeah, well, we could. We have the mold. We could make an army of these little guys.
This was a good video.
Yeah, there's only one thing that could make this video better.
What?
You know.
No!